Good morning, dear students. I, Vidyasagar, your SS teacher, welcome you all in the e-learning class of Modern International Studies 1. And this is 6th video lecture on the topic Chapter 4 and Tribal Dikus and the Vision of Golden Age. Dear students, as we have discussed that how the Birsa Munda, which overcome as a leader, or you can say the god of the tribal groups, because Birsa, which was basically influenced by the different stories, and we will go through about it further. So here we will see the search for the work. The next topic is about search for the work. So that the plight for the tribals, they have been gone far away from their homes in search of the work. It means they have to move much more distance for getting their jobs, and they in the starting of the 19th century, the tea plantation as well as the mining, it has been introduced in India. As we know that India, which was the full of the resources like the mineral resources, like the different coals and different resources, it was full of that. So that different techniques, different things were introduced through which the cheap labor they can got, and the mineral and resources which was also get by them. So these were the basic reason. That's why the British, they were conquering over India. And at that time, the Jharkhand, which was famous for the mining, and Assam, which was famous for the tea plantation. In both of the areas, they were finding out the basics, the cheap labors from where they could get the labor, and they could get lot of resources within the low wages. And they also recruited the contractors through which they could get the labors, and the British official, they used to pay to the contractors, and those contractors, they paid the low wages to the laborers. And a closer look, you will see here that within these tribal groups, the different part of countries, it was full of the rebels. That changes in law, the restriction and their practices, the new taxes in which they had to pay the taxes, and the exploitation by the traders, the money lenders, which was also just giving the burden of taxes on those tribals, as well as the coals rebels. It means those persons, those tribals who were just doing the work in the coal mines. So the coal rebels, it was during the 1831 to 1832, and the Santals, which are the aborigines of the Jharkhand, they rose the revolt during 1855, and the Bastar, the district Bastar, which is in Chhattisgarh, they have rebellion in central India and broke out during 1910, and the Warli revolt, which is in Maharashtra in 1940. The Birsa Munda, which belonging from the Jharkhand, there it means the Birsa Munda, which has put a very good impression and among the tribal group, as well as it created a havoc situation for the British. About Birsa Munda, so we will see here that in the mid of the 1870s, the son of a poor father, as he grows up in the forest, as being from the tribal groups, he was just born there, and he was just growing up within the forest of Bahanda. This is important, the forest of Bahanda, where they were just doing the common things like the grazing sheep, playing the flutes, and dancing in the local akharas. And as they were being attached to the poverty, they have to move from one place to another place for the just surviving their life. As the Birsa also just hearing about the tales of the Munda uprising, and saw as their sardars, it means the leaders, they have heard about it, that there must be a leader who could just show the path of the rebel for these tribals who are being just got the burden by the British officers. As they talked about the golden age, it means they were talking about that if there would be a leader, then there must be a golden age which will come here, and each and every one, they will just wave their dreams, and they could get their ancestral rights, because they think that these forests, these are being just as given by their ancestors, and they are the original habitants of the forest, and they could not move from there. And they saw themselves that they are fighting for their land. It means they think about it, that they are being fighting for their land, and the remaining those peoples, they have to wing back to their kingdoms. It means those peoples, those dikus, those outsiders, they have to go back for their kingdoms, and these are our origin place, so we will not move from these places. As Bilsa also joined at the younger age to the missionaries, and those missionaries which also spreading the different masses, and they also heard that mundas to attain the kingdom of heaven. It means they were also talking about the heaven, and again they could also regain their lost right. It means whatever they have lost, they could also get it again, but this will only happen when they became the when they became adopt the Christianity and give up their practices. And Birsa also spent some time in the company's prominent Vaishnav preachers, which was also giving the different values things like the purity and piety and the silence. But these of things they don't get. They only the things it was stuck in their mind, that those mundas, they could also have the golden age, and they could also see as themselves as the heavens on their own land. So Birsa was deeply influenced within these thoughts, and as he was growing, so come with the touch of the many different thoughts. So he urged the mundas. It means he was belonging from the mundas, he knew the language well, and as the peoples around them, they have knew about them, that Bilsa, they having the capacity, and they further after they were urging, then all the peoples, they were just considered that Bilsa was one of the god. Bilsa is one of the person who could regain us the vision of the golden age. And further, the Birsa, they turns against the missionaries and Hindu landlords. It means they were only watching that we could only get our vision of the golden age. Like he also saw that Birsa the ruining the Munda way of life. Like he also saw that those outer forces, they are running our lives. And in 1895, Birsa urged the follower to recover their glorious past. It means whatever the glorious past they have to recover it. As well as they was also thinking about the golden age. It means the Satyug, the age of the truths. The Mundas which lived a good life, constructed embankments, tapped the natural springs, planted trees and orchards, and practiced cultivation to earn living. As I have told you that these tribal groups, they were just close to the nature. They were just worshipping the nature and nothing else. Nowadays also, if you move toward the forest, then you will find that those tribal groups, they are just worshipping the nature as their god. But we the peoples, we are just worshipping the god as the idols, but they are worshipping the real nature which have been provided by the god. As the British officials and the political, they were also worried about the Birsa movement, and they want to drive out the missionaries and money lenders and the Hindu lenders, and the government to set up a Munda Raj with Birsa at its head. It means they want when the government came to know about it, then they want that if the Birsa Munda, they will come with them, then they could control over it. The movement identify all these forces and cause the misery of Mundas were suffering. It means those mundas which were being suffering the different kind of miseries and different problems, it was just faced by them. And the different land policies which were being deployed by the British, like the reserved forest, like the limitation that, like the small patches of land which was given for the tribals, and these type of things, this was basically destroying their land systems. As they were rising their revolts, these were affecting the land system of the British, and thus they were taking over their lands and machinery and criticizing their traditional cultures. It means they were just want to give up these things because they want just their own lands and nothing else. So at the movement which was spread, the British officers decided to act. It means they were in action, and thus they have arrested the victor Birsa in 1895 and charged to just for charge him for the writing and jail for the 2 years. And when Birsa released in 1897, it means 1895 and 2 years 1897, he begins touring within the village and he spread the message that these British, these are the one such persons who are only for making out their profits and they will do nothing for us. So we have to regain our own land, we have to regain our own properties by ourselves. So they were urging them that these are like the Ravanas, it means those dikus and the Europeans, and they were establishing their own kingdom and we have to destroy their kingdoms. That's why the Birsas, the followers, they began targeting the symbols of dikus and European power. So from there, after releasing of the jail of the Birsa, they were just targeting them and properties and money lenders, and they raised the flag of symbol of Birsa Raj. It means they want their own Swaraj, their own systems, their own freedoms, and that's why which was against the British. And in 1900, the Birsa died from the cholera. At the time, there was also not the proper treatment of these disease, so he got died and the movement was faded. It means when the leader they got died, the movement it was faded, but these movement they have left out the two imprints which was most important. Like the first, it was that the colonial government to introduce law in which the land of the tribals could not be taken easily over by the dikus, and second, it showed again the tribal people which had the capacity to protest against injustice and express their anger against the colonial rules. It means that those after these movements, the British they were just came to know that the tribals they having the capacity without any arms, without any things, without any, only with the help of the emotions, only with the help of the power, they they are ready for fighting amongst them, and that's why British get just felt from there. Okay, dear friends, read the paragraph and keep watching. Thank you.